I'll say is both, really. It's continuation of the storyline from the first one, but it's also an expansion of the walls because, as a matter of fact, if you don't know, you know now that there will be season 2. Nice. And that will also be like expansion, nice. But also continuation. Again, like I said, originally, I said earlier that the original concept was to actually toy with, the supernatural angle to Yoruba mythology, right. Lifestyle and all of that. Yeah. And that was why we started with the bird, the mystical Akala bird. Right. But then we touch other areas, and life of, the Yoruba people. Mm-hmm. But it's gonna get to a point where it will be centered around not just the Yoruba, but other ethnicity. For example, in the series, in the film, we mentioned that, they are ready to hear about the influx of the colonialists, yes, and all of that in the film. Yeah. In the series, we introduce gold, for example, right. And in the conversation, right. They mention, oh, did you know where it came from? It's from Bamako, right? Because of your trade zone, and then right. You start saying camel. Camel is not Yoruba, mm-hmm. Thing. Right. So from there, this would develop to us seeing, you can see a ship arrive the shore of the land. So people should expect again. We're going to be documenting history with yes. This series. Yes. We're going to be telling our own stories from our perspective. Right. And then we're going to be giving a lot of talent the opportunity to express themselves.
When I was with that character, it told me about Awaru. One thing that I single out, in there, if you look at Oyo, everybody had marks on their faces. Awaru has nothing on her face. Atonuniwa, I don't know how to put that in English. So you put that. Yeah. Atonuniwa ni Awaru. Awaru. I don't know.
She's the director now. I'm not saying no.
Sorry. I'm sorry. So it's a question. Yes. Atonuniwa, because the one. She came from somewhere else entirely. She's not even part of Oyo Kingdom. Nice. And for information, I'm not going to let that out of the net. Awaru has a wife. Awaru has a husband. Awaru has even a child. So I'm not going to say more. I'm not going to say more.
Interesting.
So Awaru has a husband, also a wife.
Can I just quickly chip in?
Awesome.
Let me tell you, when we were developing that character, for me, what was in my head was to create a representation of a Madame Tinombo, a representation of Efunsheton Anura, yes. The iconic Yoruba, heroes. They're not necessarily feminist, but then, these are people who are, they have a mind of their own. They want to build something. They want to say what a man can do, I can do the same. But at the same time, they are human.
Right.
All right. So really, that was what informed creating that character.
Do I think there is a relationship between the character and the
yes.
Of course, because the character is based on the previous on history, and there have been so many people who have actually attained the chieftaincy title of Basharu, as you know.
Yes.
But this particular one is really based on the ancient. Strong, powerful Basharu. Right. And what we really wanted to do is to bring that history. I'm really interested to see what the director has in his mind for the future. But I think in this particular one, it is great to have that character in the movie.
Right.
I think it's, I am deeply grateful to him in the way in which he works in allowing the individuals to kind of create and come up with stuff.
Yes.
And cannot tamper with that until when it's really absolutely necessary. I think that's really key to getting that individual strong performance that you have in this film coming out. That's down to his attributes and capabilities as a director. I think from reading the script, first of all, the first thing that jumped at me when I read the script for the first time was the fact that you could pick out individual characters. The characters were very individualistic. They have individual voices. They were strong and they were unique. There are scripts that you read or films that you even watch, and it's very monotone. You can tell that it's almost like all the characters speaks in the same way, in the same cadence.
Right.
And this is very, very unique. That jumps at you straight when you read the script. So when I was asked to play, the most important thing for me is to kind of figure out how are we going to actually deliver this. And I went through quite a lot of stress in deciding how I'm going to do this. So the first thing I did was to run to him and say, how do you want it? So that make my life easy. Just tell me what you want and I'll just do exactly what you want. And I go, no. I'm not going to tell you. You tell me how you want to go about it. So, which then meant that I had to go deep. And when I went deep, what I found was, yes, there are a whole raft of actors that have played this character in the past.
Right.
The first thing we want to do is to break from the way in which it has been interpreted in the past and have a unique and a new way, a fresh way of looking at the character. I discussed it with him, and it was, okay, it's your thing. Let's see what you can do. So I think that approach certainly helped in kind of, and then of course, on set, playing against someone like Awaro and the rest of them, all of those people are then a part of the jigsaw for you that kind of helps you to blossom as an actor.
Can I chip in one thing?
Of course.
You are not the director. The story is not your baby. It's director's baby, like the producer.
Yes.
There's something they call Bible character. That helps a lot. Because if you have the Bible character, you have your own, is the description of who you are is written out already. So when you take that, you read it, it helps a lot. Whether you're going to be cool, but you're going to be a very cunning, horrible, or straightforward. So it gives you that, what would I put it? That
description?
Of what to be
to do,
and what to do.
I try to play less or talk less when it comes to the gods because it's so complicated, right? And I try to play more with the universe because in Yoruba, if we refer to just the Yoruba gods alone, there's so many of them. But then we'll always say there's Almighty God, but then all these other gods connect to the Almighty God. The Hindus will say the same thing. The Buddhists, everybody, the Muslims, everybody. But then, because we have culture, and then we have history, and for me, to a very large extent, like I said, the genesis of this entire thing was me having conversation with Ifayemi Elebuibon, who is a scholar and a babalawo. And then we were talking, and I said, sir, why did you stop the series you used to do in the 80s, Ifa Olokun Asorodayo, which teaches the different Odu in Ifa. But again, at the end of every episode, there's moral lessons to take home.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, this was so good because they will say, don't do that. If you do, there's repercussion. Every story ends with, don't do it. If you do it, there's repercussion.
Yes.
All right? Yes. And that was the same thing I wanted to, put in some of these films to say, look, if you're too greedy, there's repercussion. If you eat too much, there's repercussion. If you smoke too much, there's anything that is done in excess, there's repercussion. Without you consulting any god, you should know that yourself.
Right.
That excess power corrupts and it kills you. You should know that excess ambition over ambition kills people. But then I respect everybody's religion, and I respect, everybody's doctrine, and all of that. Whatever works for you. Yes. And that is why in the film, those that are in the series we release, we even have like the Muslims, in Islamic culture was introduced in this series.
Right.
It was not there in the film.
Right.
And that is the reality of life. And we try to tell the story of how Islam came into Yoruba space. So we don't have to go gory. We don't have to use too many visual interpretation. But in some of the subtle lines and then visual representation, you can see that the gods are present.
Right.
They are represented.
Right.
And that's...
First of all, the Yoruba I spoke in this movie, I've never done it before. New to me entirely. I speak the urban Yoruba.
Okay.
But this one is Oyoli.
Okay.
And first of all, I give myself kudos for speaking it the first time. And I look, people love me speaking it.
Awesome.
Yes, so I enjoy it. People love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That question is interesting because the director released a video, I think it was only yesterday, about this particular scene. And when you look at the beginning of that video, that answers your question because he gave a note. Because when we actually first started, there was a way that I approached it that he said, no. This is, it has to be strong. So he wanted more in terms of the confrontation. He wanted that to come out, So he gave a note, and he's absolutely great at giving you very little. Well, is it little? I don't know how to put it. He knows the right thing to say that delivers the message, and then you snap, and then you go. So the confrontation between Basharon and the Alafin, that dates back to history. And kudos to the people that wrote the script that's able to kind of bring something like that into this. It's amazing. That's not something that I don't think from all of the things that I've looked at has been done properly before. And I think there is still a lot more that we can still explore in that area. So I enjoyed that. Was probably one of my favorite scenes where we have that confrontation, because I think for an audience, I think they're in for a treat.